Would you date an unemployed man? 75% of women would not, says a recent study. And we're going to get into this article today. This particular article I'm reading at the moment was written by Michael Snyder of InfoWars. But actually, I saw this study on several different locations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you guys the article and then give my comments. First and foremost, I do want to say I completely disagree with the study. If there's one person that knows females, it's me. And I will say this. 75% of the women out there are not of the mind frame they just don't have the ability to make that option, to make that choice. And granted, you got the top percentage of the females that could make that choice because they are themselves are desired as much, but not all women are like that. But let's go ahead and read the story. If you are a man living in America today, to a large degree, your value to society is determined by how much money you make, which is true, and I think it's disgusting. It should not be that way, but that is how our society works. And if you do not have a job at all, and you cannot take care of your own family, then almost everyone looks down on you, even if it's not your fault. Once you are unemployed, it becomes the number one defining factor in your life. Depends on, I guess, how you look at it. Yeah, I do think that a lot of people that do not think outside the box feel that way. But then again, also at the same time, I think the definition of employment or having a job is different. Some people refuse to work for other people. I'm actually one of those people, so I have handled my own shit for a long time. But yeah, I understand what it's saying here, and unfortunately there is kind of an unfair stigma attached to it. You know what I mean? But we'll keep it going. Yes, there are a few people that may look at you in the same way, but in the eyes of most, you will now be less of a man. Sadly, this is particularly true when it comes to romantic relationships. Unemployed men tend to have unhappier marriages. They tend to divorce more frequently, and as you will see below, approximately 75% of all American women do not have any interest in dating unemployed men. First of all, I gotta say, dating is not a business deal. Neither is really marriage. The truth of this is that if you are interested in someone, their job shouldn't really matter. Their employment, their societal stance, where they are, where they rank in society shouldn't really matter. But yeah, there are a lot of simple-minded individuals, and that's unfortunately where we are. If a woman was to date me simply because of my money or my job or my power, I wouldn't want to date her to begin with. So if this study is true, 75% of the women are women that I would never even touch, never even consider touching. I would teach my sons to never touch them. Do you see what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and keep going. I do believe it can make unhappier marriages, especially if the wife makes more, or because women have a tendency to use that against men. And I think we see that in any circumstance where the woman makes more money than the man, or carries the financial load, regardless of what the man does. Unfortunately, their value unfortunately, a man's value does seem to be dependent on how much money he makes. Yes, unemployed women go through similar things. I do not mean to downplay the economic suffering of unemployed women at all. In fact, I write about it quite frequently. I disagree 100%. Women do not get the same mistreatment for their lack of money, or their lack of power, or their lack of career as men do. If a woman is considered a stay-at-home mom, it's okay. It's all right. If a man is doing that, then it's judged. Me personally, I stay at home. I handle business on the internet, and then also I do homeschooling with my children. And by most of the idiots out there, they got something negative to say in regards to that. And with that being the case, that's a problem. That's definitely a problem. And whereas women could sit on their ass watching soap operas all day, and that's no problem at all. I've never really understood that. Today, however, I want you to focus on how the steady declining U.S. economy is affecting men. If you are a single man and you are unemployed, that automatically means that most single women will not be interested in you at all. At least that is what one shocking survey discovered. One of the 925 single women surveyed, 75% said that they'd have a problem with dating someone without a job. Only 4% of respondents asked whether they would go out with an unemployed man answered, of course. Only 4% said, of course. Not having a job will definitely make it harder for men to date someone they don't already know. Irene Lakota, spokesperson for It's Just Lunch, said in a press release. This is a rare area compared to other topics we've done surveys on, where women's old-fashioned beliefs about sex roles seem to apply. Now listen, this is disgusting to me. First of all, and you guys, this is probably where you'll click off my video because I'm just going to be as harsh as it gets. Who do you bitches think you are? I'm sorry, but who do you foul-mouthed hoes think you are? You know, this feminism movement is disgusting to me. I'm sick and tired of women feel that they have the right to make any decisions like this. And whatever puts you on a pedestal to believe that you can choose us based on our careers is disgusting. And let me say this. The truth of it is, you're lying. Because 75% of you hoes that are saying this are lying. You have been with men without jobs, and you've in fact taken care of men without jobs. You are lying. You're all skanky ass bitches that would take care of any man just so they would be with you. You're sitting there. I've never understood why you women in general publicly say things like this, but yet in reality, I wonder how many of you pay the bills of somebody sitting on your couch playing John Madden. How many of you are really taking care of the Madden Kings day in and day out? You're lying. You're lying. You pay for people to touch your corroded puss every single day, and you know it. You know why? Because your value, as you've gotten older, the stock value of your vagina has dropped. Each and every penis that you've taken in, each and every time you've sat with a mouthful of cum, what you have done is you have lowered your value. And you know damn well that us men don't value you. So what you're trying to do is come back. This is your revenge by saying, well, if you don't have a job, I won't date you. First of all, half of us, if we had a job, we wouldn't date you. In today's America, where probably 75% of the women are overweight, what the fuck makes you think that we want you? You better bring something else to the table. Because any of you broads that think that bringing coochie to the table is all you need to bring, you are sadly mistaken. That only works with a simp. That only works with somebody that can't do any better. That only works with people that honestly have no self-respect. And I know a lot of you think I'm being rough, and that's okay. But at the same time, this needs to be said. The complete destruction of males in this country is it's the most disgusting thing I think I've ever seen. And the complete lack of respect for the males, and somehow exalting these women on a pedestal. When men go from broad to broad, they're called dogs. When women are hoes and literally go from dick to dick, it's called searching for love. No, it's not. You're a hoe. You're a tramp. You're a slut. You're a cum bucket. Let's not front here. Let's not lie. Let's not be disgusting. I'm gonna try to clean it up a little bit, but let's be real. This consistent exaltation of women into where people actually believe that they are great and men ain't shit is disgusting. And I refuse to stand for it. I refuse to stand by why feminism completely destroys the respect that was once had for men. Okay, let's go back. So what would happen if things were reversed and the same question was asked to men? Well, it turns out that there's a big difference. Depends on who you ask. When men were asked the same question, the results were absolutely startling. On the other hand, the prospect of dating an unemployed woman was not a problem for nearly two-thirds of men. In fact, 19% of men said they had no reservations, and 46% said they were positive they would date an unemployed woman. Yeah, that's because we don't judge people based on their jobs, but I will tell you this. I am actually one of the percentages that require an income from a female. I require it because I know if the roles were reversed, vice versa, they would require it from me. I believe I'm a catch. I believe that I'm a hot commodity. Now, so many of you may say, what makes you feel that way? And I admit some of you out there may try making jazzy comments, but at the end of the day, it's what you bring to the table that other men or women do not. That is what determines your value. So the bottom line of this is studies like this actually make no sense because at the end of the day, it's different strokes for different folks. Now, let's get back. Perhaps traditional gender roles are not quite as dead as the many people believe that they are. And as I mentioned earlier, the declining economy is hitting men even harder than it is hitting women. No kidding. Yes, millions upon millions of women are deeply suffering in this economy. There is no doubt about it. But men are actually having an even more difficult time than women are. The following are 12 signs that the decline of the U.S. economy is having a disappropriate impact on men. Number 1. The labor force participation rate for men now is at an all-time low. Look at that chart. That's just the truth. Men are having less jobs. We are being forced to be entrepreneurs. Now, granted, I don't count me in there because I dug my own grave. I'm the one that put tattoos on my face. I'm the one that has felonies. I'm the one that fucked up. So I don't blame society for my being forced to be an entrepreneur. No question about it. But there are many men that are nothing like me. Uh-oh. I done accidentally skipped past the page. Okay, number 2. During the last recession, men lost twice as many jobs as women did. All of the jobs that women in the United States lost during the last recession have been regained. But only about 70% of the jobs that men lost during the last recession have been regained. Meanwhile, the size of the overall population continues to grow rapidly. You see what I'm saying? Females will easily get their jobs back. Men love to hire women, especially in the secretarial role, so they could put their penis in something where their wife doesn't see. That's just the truth. That's what men do, and it's disgusting. But it's the truth. Women get hired. Women will never have a problem getting a job because typically it's the man in power, and the man makes the hiring decisions. And just being real, men are typically going to hire women to be around them that can't be around them at home. That's just the way it is. I used to run companies. I know. That's just the way it is. I ran a company for 10 years. And if you think every chick that I ever hired was hired based on their skill level, you're out of your fucking mind. You're out of your mind. I called it office decoration. And that's just the truth. It's like it's no different than Christmas or holiday decorations. Sometimes you just got to break it out and say it's time to decorate the office a little bit. Number 3. The inactivity rate for men has risen even higher since the end of the last recession and is now hovering near an all-time low. Of course, men are getting fatter and lazier. That's just the truth. I don't blame everything on everyone else. Men are fatter and lazier. I'm fatter and I'm lazier. And that's just the truth. And many men are falling into that category. And I do blame a lot of the things that we have. You got all the people that sit around, like I said before, playing their video games and eating pizza rolls and snack cakes and all this, and that's just how things go. Plus the rise of welfare. Since 2010, number four, since 2010, about 1 million construction workers have either been forced to switch industries or have disappeared from the labor force entirely. This has been a disappropriate impact on men. Well, that's because bitches don't do construction for the most part. Let's be honest. Women don't typically do construction. Yeah, you get your occasional butch type female that thinks they're construction workers. I'll give you that. But typically, women do not do construction. Women are in physical labor jobs, just for the most part, do not happen. Number five, back in the 1950s, more than 80% of all men in the United States had jobs. Just before the last recession, about the 70% of all men in the United States had jobs. Today, only 64% of all men in the United States have jobs. Do you understand that's barely more than half? 64%, 6 out of 10 men have jobs. That means 4 out of every 10 men do not. That's because our jobs are being given away to either the women who, the introduction of all these rules that jobs have to hire a certain amount of women or a certain amount of other nationalities or a certain amount, the restrictions that's put on bosses and employers is what restriction. And that's the problem. And then you have the people, the illegal aliens coming here, taking our jobs. And the fact that we can't close up our borders means you got people that's willing to come over here and clean up dog shit for 17 cents. Why I'm not willing to do it for less than $10. Of course, if you're an employer, you're going to pay the 17 cents to the guy that wants to clean up the dog shit. The common sense says, I'll pay this guy 17 cents because JB, they're going to ask for $10. I mean, logic. Let's be real. We have to close the borders. And that's just the bottom line, man. Yes, I understand we're a country of immigrants. I understand that. But we are running out of room. We are running out of jobs. We are running out of money. We are running out of everything. At some point, we have to close the fucking border. Period. You can't just leave your house open and let the whole neighborhood come in and eat all your food. Eventually, you're going to run out. Number six, back in the 1980s, more than 20% of the jobs in the United States were manufacturing jobs. Today, only about 9% of the jobs in the United States are manufacturing jobs. This had a disappropriate impact on men, of course. Of course. All the manufacturing jobs are leaving because everything's being done by fucking robots. That's just the truth. And I guess that's just part of the time, I guess. Number seven, according to the Economic Policy Institute, the U.S. economy loses 9,000 jobs for every $1 billion of goods that are imported. A disappropriate percentage of these job losses tend to come from male-dominated industries such as manufacturing. Since 1975, the United States has run a total trade deficit with the rest of the world of more than $8 trillion. And right now there are more than 102 million working age Americans that do not have a job. That's right. Think about that. Well, there's only 300 million people here. 30% of America that can work isn't working. Why is that? Do you think that maybe it's because we give too much welfare to the people that refuse to work? Yeah, let me give you an example. I used to be a liberal. I used to be scum, as far as I'm concerned now. I used to get $800 in food stamps back when I was scum. Now, there was jobs that I had that barely made $1,000, $250 a week, because of my felonies and this and that. Why on earth would I go work 40 hours? I just want you to look at this, because this is what all the welfare bums are thinking. Why would I go work 40 hours a week for $1,000 a month when I can get $850 a month in food stamps? Do you see the point? We have to cut off food stamps, ladies and gentlemen. We have to cut off welfare. That's how you get people to go back to fucking work. If you have to work to eat, you'll go to work. I know. Very few people are like me that come to this conclusion on their own. Most people have to be forced to make that decision. I simply made that decision based on income change and based on political knowledge. That's what happened with me. But not everybody's like me. Okay, number 8. Between 1969 and 2009, the median wages earned by American men between the ages of 30 and 50 dropped by 27% after you account for inflation. Huge droppage. Men are just being paid less. And I think once again it goes down to illegal aliens. We have to start accepting less. You know what I'm saying? If I'm willing to work for $10 an hour and that guy's willing to work for $5.50 an hour, at some point I'm going to have to drop my offer and say, okay, I'll work for $7.50 an hour if I want the job. And that's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Number 9, according to the Economic Policy Institute, the real entry-level hourly wage for men who recently graduated from high school has declined from $15.64 in 1979 to $11.68 today. I 100% disagree. I think it's even less. I think entry-level positions are starting at $8 and $9 an hour now, and I think people need to realize that. $15.64 would be a dream for a person like me. $11.68, I've only made $12 an hour at a job one time in my entire 33 years of living. Most of the time, it's been hovered right around $10, $11 an hour, about $10 an hour. And that's just the truth. Very few people, and I have a diploma, and I have college, I have all that. Number 10, thanks to Obama, the Obama administration policies, which are systematically killing off small businesses in the United States, the percentage of self-employed Americans is at an all-time low today. This has had a disappropriate impact on men, of course. Unfortunately, most self-employed people are taking hits. But then you got people like me that have no choice but to be self-employed, have no choice but to be entrepreneurs. So in a lot of ways, I agree with that. I do think that once you have an established business with the healthcare, with the forcing people to offer part-time hours, I do think it's affecting companies, no question, no doubt about it. I don't think there's any way around it. Now let's keep it moving because this video is getting long here. According number 11, according to CNN, American men in the 25 to 34-year-old age bracket are nearly twice as likely to live with their parents as women the same age are. Yeah, that's because women typically suck a dick to get a place. The women aren't going to live with their parents at that age because all they got to do, literally, is show a little thigh and a dude is willing to move them in anywhere. That's just the truth. And anybody that thinks I'm bullshitting, well, let's just be honest. I know I say things harshly, but that's the truth. Women, all they got to do is have a boyfriend, and they're typically have a place to live. And we all know that. It's disgusting, but it's the truth. Now, men, on the other hand, with their entire existence relies on how much they work, how much they make. And as you see, men are completely they're completely dissed by society if they depend on anyone or anything else other than themselves. So we have to keep that shit in mind. But that is the truth. Okay. Number 12, according to Time magazine, unemployed men are significantly more likely to get divorced than employed men are. I believe it. Because if the women are holding the financial burden, they tend to get real cocky and real arrogant and forget that they're just bitches. You know what I'm saying? They forget that shit. They start belittling the man's manhood. And men don't like that shit. Men will fight back in a heartbeat about that. I've went through it myself. At times. Where women, when they make more money than men, they put themselves on such a high pedestal and they think they run the show. So if you have a dominant real man such as myself that is used to running the show, and then a woman because she makes more money, steps up and says, no, I think I'll make the decisions. Based on income, of course there's going to be a divorce. Of course there's going to be a separation. Because men that don't play that shit ain't going to stand for that shit. At all. At all. Now let's keep it moving. When a man cannot take care of his own family, it can be absolutely soul crushing. That is true. We hate that feeling. Though many would like to deny this, the truth is that men are still considered to be the primary breadwinners in society. When a man finds that he cannot provide what his family needs, no matter how hard he tries, it can be really easy to descend into a spiral of despair, depression, and self-pity. That's why men kill themselves, commit suicide more than anybody else. Unfortunately, the U.S. economy is not producing nearly enough jobs for everyone anymore, and it never will again. Meanwhile, the quality of our jobs continues to decline at a staggering pace. Now, I want you to think about what they just said, and it never will again. I truly believe that, because we're seeing the collapse of the U.S. dollar. We're seeing things that will make sure no new businesses are created, such as Obamacare, things like that. We are killing off industries like the private healthcare sector. We're killing this shit. So we need to look at things for what they are. Now let's keep it moving. What all that means is that Americans living in poverty is going to continue to grow. And there will be lots more men that feel worthless because they can't provide for their families. That should lead to more suicides, to be honest. The following is one example of a single dad that is forced to turn to the government for assistance because he cannot provide for his children on his own. It means Lyman Curtis, single dad of 5 kids, will only be able to reliably heat his home in Dexter, Maine for the first half of the winter, maybe through February. After that, Curtis will drive to local gas stations to buy kerosene oil in 5-gallon increments, all he can afford to buy at one time. I know a lot of people who do it that way, because there's just not enough money to heat your home and pay for groceries in your everyday life, said Curtis, 38, who's the primary caregiver for his kids and relies on disability benefits and food stamps to survive. Nobody should ever look down on someone like Lyman Curtis. He is doing the best that he can. At this point, our economy is kind of like a very twisted game of musical chairs. If your family is doing well at the moment, you should not be too complacent, because the next time the music stops, you might be the one that loses a job. And I feel that way 100%. Now let me explain this. I do not believe people on welfare that is there due to age or disability should be looked down upon at all. But someone like myself that is able to work, that, someone like a grown-ass man, grown-ass woman that's not, doesn't have a disability should be working. No question about it. At this point, okay, we already did the musical chairs. In recent years, millions upon millions of Americans have lost good jobs. And in most cases, it was due to forces beyond their control. And as the economy continues to deteriorate, Americans are going to become even more angry and even more frustrated. In fact, one recent survey found that 60% of all Americans report feeling angry or irritable. Well, of course, we're pissed off. But we have not reached the next major wave of economic collapse yet. Yeah, no shit, when the dollar collapses. How angry and irritable will people feel once millions of more Americans lose their job? That is something to think about. So what do you all think about this? What do you think about the fact that most women would not even consider dating an unemployed man? Feel free to share your thoughts. Definitely post a comment below. Now, the truth of it is, like I said, even harshly I've said my feelings towards women in regards to the ones that make choices like this. But ultimately, we have to look at things for what they are. In today's society, it's about survival. It's about survival. So just as harsh as I am on women, I kind of understand that they want to survive. But at the same time, I think we have to separate love and romance from business. It's not the same thing. It's just not the same thing. And if you pick your romance's interest based on your business interest, you will fail, period. And that is the truth. Your romance interest will fail. And with that said, that's my bottom is that you can't, if your romance choices become a business decision, you don't deserve a romance to begin. With that said, I'm King JB, King Gunner. This is the Kingdom of Truth. You know how I do it. I'm out of here.